When you're asked to describe somebody, what characteristics do you hone in on? Typically their height. We usually don't know somebody's eye color, do we? We usually describe them with their hair. Is it long? Is it short? Is it white, red, dark? When you're looking in the mirror in the morning, you never say, oh, I'm having a bad nose day, a bad ear day. We focus on the thing that we can do something about, and we can do something about our hair. Even when this picture was taken, there's always something, right? Well, my hair is getting a little bit long, and I feel like my part was a little bit too wide, but actually I really like this picture. This was me 2 years ago. A little while after this picture was taken, I started to redefine what a good hair day really means, because it was the result of an ultimate bad hair day that I had to redefine it. What did that ultimate bad hair look like? You'll never know. There are no pictures of this time. It turns out that hair and chemo do not get along well with each other. So it seems counterintuitive that you're feeling well, yet they're going to do a surgery and cut stuff out. Okay, the good news is, they got it all. I am free of breast cancer.
I understand that.
The interesting sideline there was my doctors decided because I was young, they wanted me to go through all the preventive treatments, meaning no microbes should have a chance in hell. So here I was, they got it all, great news, yet I still had to go through chemo and radiation. There are no pictures because I didn't want to see it. And I promised myself that I was never going to be running around sporting that chemo look. You know that scarf look that a lot of people wear? I promised myself I was never going to do that. And I didn't, other than at home. Because to look in the mirror, I didn't want to see it myself. So at home, I would wear the scarf. Well, I couldn't do that at work. I didn't want anybody at work to know. People at work to this day do not know. Well, I can't really work from home for 6 months. That's not going to work out. So step one in getting back to a good hair day is to cover it up using a wig. I was lucky enough to find a wig that was very, very close to what my actual hair was. But with this hairdo, people at work still didn't recognize me. I walked into a party, and a friend of mine that I'd known for years, she and her husband took 3 minutes to recognize who I was. And she looked at me and she said, "Oh, is that your real hair?" And I said, well, I didn't say this out loud, but the wig is made of real hair. It is mine because I paid $1,800 for it. So yes, it's my real hair. Thank you. But a lot of people just said, well, what did you do with your hair? And I said, well, I'm starting to use a curling iron. It's winter. I'm not driving with the top down as much. Everybody bought it. That's a good thing. So at the end of the day, even though when I looked in the mirror without the wig at home, still, when I went out with the wig on, I really started feeling like myself again. It's amazing how much of your own identity is tied up in your hair. And it's one thing to say, well, I'm just going to change my style, but do we ever really change our hairstyles that much? A little. It's very seldom that somebody goes from here to really short hair. Sometimes you'll get somebody putting in highlights. They'll go from brown to red or red to brown. Somebody doesn't want to show gray, so they dye their hair so you never notice that they're going gray. We don't really change our hair that much. Well, the thing, I had a few incidents with the hair, though. The first time I went to a meeting at work, it was one of those things where I sat in a meeting, and I wasn't really used to where the hair goes. By the time I walked out of that meeting, it had moved up by this much. Now, luckily, the meeting was with a good friend, and he was a guy, so I don't know if he just didn't notice or was too nice to tell me. I went to the bathroom and went, oh no. The other thing about wearing a wig is that it's not attached, so you don't have to wear it every day, but at some point you do have to wash it. Well, styling it becomes a little bit of a challenge. So the place where I got the wig from, they provide a service. They do it for you. it requires you to go drop off your hair. I worked from home a lot. I would go drop off the hair, go back home, do some work, show up with a nice little short wig that my mom had got me that was synthetic, go pick it up, put my hair back on, and then I would feel ready to be seen in public again. Luckily, after a little bit of chemo, the second round was a different drug. It started coming back. Because that was my first question, actually. You know, they say with chemo, everybody's a little bit different. I said, what about the hair? They said, no, everybody's pretty much the same when it comes to that. And they did tell me it was going to take all 8 treatments for it to start growing back. But it actually started growing back when the second drug started. And it was about like this. But I would literally celebrate every little millimeter. I had a friend that came over every Friday after my treatments with a bottle of wine. So we would toast another one down. You know, by treatment number 7 out of 8, I was at 87.5% done. This is how it went. And it got long enough, finally, that it was tough to keep the wig on. So now it was starting to slip because I was developing more hair. Well, at this point, I thought, well, you know, time for stage 2. Instead of covering it up, I just need to let it go. Well, how do you explain that? You go from hair this long, suddenly curly, and all of a sudden, you're going to show up with really short hair. Well, my friend with the wine, maybe we had too much wine at that point. But before you ask, can you have wine on chemo? Yes, you can. As my chemo guys said, just don't drink the cheap stuff. So after a bottle of wine, she came up with the perfect story. What's the explanation? You can't say I'm going to do Sinead O'Connor or Britney Spears because that would make me sound nuts. Kathy said, tell people, it's a great story, I'd love to tell you about it, but it happened in Vegas. So I got her husband's permission to actually take her to Vegas because I needed somebody with me. And this was the weekend of my letting it all go, coming out with the hair. I felt really self-conscious because I hadn't had hair this short since I was 5. And it was a little bit curlier, and I just didn't know really how to deal with people at the time because I was used to being able to hide my face and, you know, do the little hair flip thing, and you can't do that with hair this short. But it was 110 degrees, and it was so nice not to have to wear the wig in 110 degrees. And literally a couple of seconds after Kathy snapped this shot, there were these 2 guys that came by and said, hey, she looks great, doesn't she? And Kathy said, yes, she does. They weren't even trying to pick me up, but I felt so much better because I really felt like I needed that validation. When I came back, people at work again didn't recognize me. I'm moving into a new department. I was supposed to have lunch with the senior VP, and instead of meeting her in the cafeteria, I went to her office and I said, you know, Stephanie, I didn't think you'd recognize me in the cafeteria. She looked up and said, you're right, I'm glad you came by. Question number 1 I got, did you break up with someone? What made me feel good is nobody said, are you sick? Is something wrong? And that was my goal, is not to let people at work know what was going on, because I didn't want to be known as the sickie at work. And my actual immediate boss, yeah, he met me with the wig at some point. And he was in from England, and I was walking around the corner, and one of my colleagues basically said, oh, yeah, you're not going to recognize her. But I walked by, and he said, hello. He heard my voice. And I figured with everything else that was going on, the only thing that was changed was my hair, not my voice, not the way I approached work, other than I worked from home a little bit more. But it felt good to be out and not have to worry about shaking my hair and having it fly off. I could actually go out with the convertible top down again. Which brings me to stage 3, is now it's time to decorate it. As you can tell, I'm growing it back in, and I needed a photo to reflect that. So I found a great photographer who took this great shot. The thing is, when the hair started growing back in, I got some interesting feedback. The bartender at my favorite restaurant said, are you letting it grow back? When it was obvious that it wasn't going to stay so short. And I said, yeah. He said, good, because, yeah, that was nice, but you look better with long hair. You look sexier with longer hair. Okay, again, it makes me feel good that people didn't say, what's wrong? Why were you sick? And I just chose to focus all my energy on the one thing that was visible, because I was healthy, it's all preventive, and I needed to focus on something positive. And what I focused on is the fact that the hair was growing back. So I started going for milestones. You know, I put my jacket on, and you know, you kind of go like this to flip it up over. There wasn't anything to flip for a while. At my last conference in October, I could flip my hair over my collar, and I'm celebrating all these little milestones. So am I going to let it grow back in again? Yeah. And to go back to the good hair days, I covered it up. I finally let it go free. I'm starting to decorate it with some flowers from Hawaii. And ultimately, any day that this real hair is attached to this real scalp is an awesome hair day.